Every morning at exactly 8:10, the employees of Brightwell and Comers walked past him. He sat on the same wooden bench across the street from the glass building, wearing a long, dark coat that looked older than the city itself. His beard was uneven, his shoes were worn, and beside him rested a leather briefcase that had clearly survived better decades. No one knew his name, and no one really cared. "Probably homeless," whispered Amanda one morning as she adjusted her designer bag. "Or just lazy," replied Mark. "If he can sit there all day, he can find a job." The man never begged, never asked for money. He simply watched the building. He watched people rush in with coffee cups and tight schedules. He watched arguments happen on phones. He watched laughter, stress, ambition, and exhaustion all cross that glass door. And every afternoon at 4:55, he would stand, dust off his coat, and walk away without saying a word. To most people, he was invisible. Except to Daniel. Daniel was new to the company, young, ambitious, recently promoted to project manager after working nights for years. He noticed things others ignored. Maybe because, not long ago, he had been ignored too. One cold Tuesday morning, Daniel stepped outside during lunch and crossed the street. He stopped in front of the man. "Good afternoon," Daniel said. The man looked up slowly, his eyes sharp and surprisingly calm. "Afternoon." Daniel hesitated. "I see you here every day. Are you waiting for someone?" The man smiled faintly. "In a way." Daniel sat beside him. "Mind if I ask who?" "My investment," the man replied. Daniel glanced at the building. "You invested in Brightwell?" 23 years ago, the man said, when it was just 3 people and a rented office. Daniel blinked. The man continued, "Back then, I wore better suits." Daniel studied him more carefully now. His posture was straight. His hands, though rough, moved with quiet confidence. "You don't look like an investor," Daniel said before he could stop himself. The man laughed softly. "Most people don't look like what they are." Silence sat between them for a moment. "I used to own 30% of that company," the man said, "until I sold my shares." Daniel's eyebrows rose. "Why would you sell?" "My wife got sick," he answered calmly. "Cancer. The treatment was expensive. I didn't hesitate." Daniel felt something shift in his chest. "She passed away 3 years later," the man continued. "And by then, Brightwell had grown into what you see now." Daniel swallowed. "Do they know who you are?" "Oh, the founders remember," he said. "They send me dividends from a small percentage I kept. I don't need more." Daniel looked at his coat again. Then, "Why sit here?" The man's eyes softened as he looked at the building. "Because this was our dream. Mine and hers. We believed in it before anyone else did. Sitting here reminds me that belief matters." Daniel didn't know what to say. Across the street, Amanda exited the building and saw Daniel sitting beside the homeless man. She shook her head. Later that week, something unexpected happened. Brightwell and Coer faced a crisis. A major investor pulled out, and rumors spread that the company might lose millions. Panic filled the office. In an emergency meeting, the founders looked exhausted. "We need strategic guidance," one of them said. "Someone who understands the company from the ground up." There was a quiet knock at the conference room door. The assistant opened it, confused. "There's a man here asking to speak with you." When he stepped inside, every head turned. It was the man from the bench. Amanda almost dropped her pen. Mark whispered, "What is he doing here?" The founders stood immediately. "Thomas," one of them said warmly, "it's been too long." The room went silent. For the next hour, Thomas spoke calmly and clearly. He analyzed their problem, proposed a restructuring plan, and outlined a negotiation strategy that stunned even the senior executives. He wasn't guessing. He understood the company's foundation, its risks, its strengths, its history. By the end of the week, the crisis was controlled. The same employees who once avoided eye contact now watched him with quiet respect as he exited the building. Daniel caught up to him outside. "You didn't have to help," Daniel said. Thomas adjusted his old coat. "When you build something with love, you don't stop caring about it." Daniel hesitated. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone who you were?" Thomas smiled. "If people treat you differently because of what you have," he said, "you never really know how they see you." He picked up his briefcase. "And sometimes," he added, "it's good to remind yourself that identity isn't in the suit, it's in the soul." The next morning, the bench was empty. Thomas never returned. But something in the office had changed. Amanda no longer judged people so quickly. Mark became quieter with his opinions. And Daniel? Daniel learned something far more valuable than a promotion. He learned that appearances are often the weakest evidence of truth. The torn coat did not tell Thomas's story. The worn shoes did not measure his wealth. And the quiet man on the bench carried more wisdom than the loudest voice in the room.